Gonna take up my cell phone, shoot every day, 'cause I asked my audience, and this is what they say. It don't matter how you shake, just as long as you take cinematic footage on your phone. Oh yeah. Show us how you roll, make us part of your end goal with cinematic footage on your phone. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode. In today's episode we'll be talking about the ND filter that goes on the front of your camera and on the lens, and what it does is it makes your picture a bit more neutral density, and that's exactly what the ND stands for, neutral density. Now what I have here is the Canon M50 EOS, and on the front of the lens it has a ND filter with a step-up ring, because this ND filter is originally a 77mm for my Nikon D750 camera on the 28-300mm lens, and the diameter of that front portion of the lens is 77mm. So this ND filter wouldn't fit on the Canon EOS M50 with a 55mm diameter lens unless you use a step-up ring. Now, basically what the step-up ring does is it just makes the parameter where the ND filter will sit on a little bit smaller, so that the lens will actually fit, the ND filter will actually fit on the lens. Now, right next to the Canon EOS M50, I have my cell phone. And the reason I have my cell phone right here to the right of the EOS M50 is because I want to show you the difference in what happens with the light and how the light would change if you have an ND filter on your camera and if you don't. Now, this camera that I'm pointing at now is my cell phone, and this camera is the Canon EOS M50. So you'll also see that if I'm on the footage of the cell phone, right here is the lens sticking out of the EOS M50, and I did that on purpose so that you know that the M50 is standing right here next to my cell phone. Right here behind me is the sun, and it's relentless again today. You should think it's winter in South Africa, but today is more like a midsummer day instead of a normal nice winter's day like it's supposed to be. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I am going to move over completely from the Canon EOS M50 onto the cell phone to show you what the Canon EOS M50 looks like with the ND filter with the step-up rings on the front of the lens. Why am I doing this video about ND filters and step-up lenses, step-up rings, and showing you what the differences are? Because if you find yourself out in a sunny area and you're trying to vlog, and all you can see is, if I point at my camera footage, you can see a lot of washout here on the side of my face, and it just really looks meh. But if you look at the footage of the Canon M50, you'll see that it's got a dreamy sort of cinematic look, and the only reason it does that is that the ND filter on the front of the lens basically just blinds out most of the light, and it gives you a nice, soft, gentle look of the sun shining in, as opposed to this harsh light on this camera right now. Okay, so what it looks like, I'm just going to take it off here just to make it easier, and I'm screwing it out as opposed to just clicking it off, because I want to just have the camera in my hand to show you what it looks like. Okay, so that is the footage, if it even goes into focus. That is the footage on the Canon EOS M50, and you can see it's pretty much darker than the footage that is on my cell phone, recording on my cell phone. So This footage over here is because I have this ND filter right on the front of my lens. And if I want to take it off, it's pretty easy. I can just screw the whole thing off and drop it. Screw the whole thing off, and I have my lens back again. So all my footage would now be looking almost exactly the same as the footage from this camera. So this footage will look like this footage. And the only reason for that is because there is no ND filter on the front of the lens. And as soon as I put it back, you'll find that the footage drastically improves. On and off and on and off. All you have to do is get one ND filter that would fit a couple of your lenses. And normally what you do is you get the bigger ND filter and you stick that onto a couple of step-up rings, and then you stick that on the front of your lens, and it's versatile. You can now use it for just about any lens that you have available at your disposal. Now, this specific filter is a variable ND filter, and what a variable ND filter does is it will be able to make the footage lighter or darker depending on how you turn it. And it has a 7-stop, so you can turn this ND filter until daylight looks like nighttime. It has 7 f-stops. So instead of messing around with your f-stop, making your videos unusable because everything behind you is so much in focus that nobody who's watching your video is actually focusing on you. They're actually checking out what's going on in the background. But you want to blur that out. So keep your f-stop low, put on this ND filter, and then turn it to a level until it's dark enough for you to still have a very low f-stop, but your footage is not white and washed out like this ugly footage that we've been staring at for the last couple of minutes. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the Canon M50 and then I'm going to show you some tricks. Okay, so I'm still sitting in the exact same spot. I just turned the camera just a little bit because of these sun rays that you can see coming in here. Now, the one thing that I absolutely love to do when I do some cinematic footage, filmmaking, or even photography. I love doing this with photography and film both. And that is to use this sun ray in my footage to give it just a dreamy kind of look. How do you accomplish this dreamy look? Well, it's very simple. Whenever you have an opportunity to shoot footage, whether it's video or photo, try to keep the sun sort of just off to your subject's left. And if you have to change it to the right, that's fine, but just keep it just off to the side of your subject. And then don't shoot into the sun directly, because that's just nasty. But just have the sun out of frame, just out of frame, and you get this ray of light coming through. Now, sometimes you'll also get those nice bubbles that they call lens flare, and you can always insert lens flare after the fact in post-production, but I like to do it in camera, and the reason I like to do it is when it's there, it makes the footage look completely different. And if you've seen any of my other footage, like with the Zhiyun Crane 3, the ones that I've uploaded with the Zhiyun Crane 3, Nadine was walking towards me in the bushveld, and I was filming her with her back to the sun, but I was holding her just in front of the sun all the time so that the rays can surround her. And just keep in mind that whenever you want to shoot towards the sun, put some sort of protection on your lens, even if it's just a lens hood, if you don't have an ND filter, but put something on your lens and then shoot so that the sun is just out of frame of your camera. So there's one trick for you to take cinematic footage, and if you don't have an ND filter, don't worry about it too much. You'll always be able to use your faster shutter speeds, and you'll always be able to raise your f-stop higher. The only issue is then that you'll have everything in focus, which is not ideal and which is not what you've been trying to accomplish. One last thing before I go is on the ND filter that's on this Canon M50 right now, you can change, I'm not touching any settings on the camera, but you can change it to be very, very dark, and I'm gone now, probably completely gone. And you can just completely open it up, and then it looks exactly like the cell phone footage, because now my ND filter is turned to its lowest setting, which is only 1 f-stop. So I'm currently shooting on 4.5 f-stop, which means 1 f-stop added to what my camera can do at the moment is 5.6 f-stop. So if I turn that up 1, it starts getting a little bit darker, and I turn it up another 1 to f8, it's a little bit darker, and then I go to f9 and it's a little bit darker. I go to f11 and it's quite dark now. So what I've done is I've not changed the focus depth of field on my camera. I have just opened or closed my ND filter, and what this does is it's like putting 2 pairs of sunglasses on while you're driving. Don't do that. It can be very dark and you won't be able to see. And people will think you're an idiot if you switch on your main lights during the day. Okay, so that is it for today's tutorial. I really hope that you've enjoyed it, that you've learned something. I didn't go a lot into depth about ND filters and step-up rings for those ND filters, but I just wanted to show you what you can accomplish if you have something like this on your lens and you can turn it the way that you want to portray your film to everybody out there who's watching your footage. And I'm sorry about the noise that you hear in the back, but I have an African grey, and I normally vlog from the studio or from the bushveld or somewhere far away from this African grey, and that is the exact reason why. Because once I start talking, he thinks it's go time, he's on camera, let's just say whatever we want to say and get it off our chest right now while mommy's vlogging. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. In the next episode, we'll be talking about some more filters you can use on your camera to make your footage more cinematic and more dreamy. Stay tuned.